note for note, don't worry. Be happy.
Oh, well, joining us now is an expert on stress, someone who agrees that busy is the new normal, and she has a 2-year-old. Stress shouldn't be, should it? Michelle Book, welcome.
Well, thank you. Stress definitely should not be a normal feeling, but unfortunately, I think for a lot of us it is.
Well, Michelle, you're an in-house holistic nutritionist for the Canadian Health Food Association, and you have some pretty interesting survey results.
Yes, we have very interesting survey results. In fact, we did a national survey and found that 67% of Canadians saying that they're stressed at work, and over 60% saying this stress is negatively impacting their health and their wellness, which is pretty scary to think about. I think especially this time of year when we're heading back to school, back to work, back to the routine after summer, stress is top of mind for a lot of us.
Now, do you think those stats reflect a change? Do you think if you had taken that survey 50 years ago that you would have had the same results?
I don't personally think so. I think that ultra busy has become the new norm for a lot of us Canadians, and I think it has to do with our lifestyle, our go, constantly busy, one thing to the next, our workloads, social media, online, and I think that all of these different technologies and pressures that we have on ourselves really have played a role and a huge impact on our health and our well-being.
Well, Ontarians report the highest level of workplace stress in the country, 72% in agreement that work causes them stress. British Columbia residents report the lowest levels of workplace stress with 56% in agreement. So are we playing into that whole Lotus Land comment for out in BC?
It could be quite possible. And I think that, it really comes down to how we are managing that stress. And for a lot of us, maybe here in Ontario, we're not managing it properly. So at the Canadian Health Food Association, we developed a workplace wellness guide that includes supplements, different exercises, as well as different foods that you can eat to help manage this stress that maybe here specifically in Ontario, we're not doing enough of.
How much of it do you think is mindset before we go through that? Because I think we need to go through your list of what to eat and how to program our days. But mindset, I think out in BC, they just have a little bit more of a YOLO mindset.
And that could be very, very true. I think mindset does play a huge role, especially when it comes to stress and what does stress us and those triggers. Something that could be very, very stressful for one person might not even be an issue for someone else. So I think it's very, very personal, and it really does have to do with our mindset, our outlook, and how we handle different stresses in our lives.
Is there a way to insulate oneself, to learn the discipline of saying, this isn't coming any further?
I think setting boundaries is really, really important. And I think when it comes to stress, it's about setting boundaries and it's about managing time. So being able to be in charge of your schedule, being able to organize things in a way so that workloads don't feel too overwhelming, so that the pressures that we have, between work and home and soccer practice and homework.
Well, exactly. One of the things that women used to be proud of was being able to multitask. But now we're hearing multitasking is bad. You need to focus one thing at a time.
It's so true. And that's why mindfulness, I think we're hearing also more and more about mindfulness and the importance of mindfulness and taking the time to disconnect, to sit, whether it's 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes, having a couple of deep breaths. A lot of us are on this monkey mind from one thing to the next, and we don't have that time to really sit and focus. And as part of the guide, we talk about mindfulness and how important it really, really is to be able to get a handle on things and to reduce the stress, to reduce the anxiety, that we're faced with.
So explain mindfulness for those who just think it's a woo-woo word. What does it really mean?
Well, I think it means actually different things for different people, but mindfulness is about becoming more mindful of what's happening in the present moment, taking a couple of deep breaths, thinking about what's happening right now. So a lot of people find that it's, personally I find it's great to set a reminder on your computer, maybe every few hours to stop, take 3 deep breaths, focus on what's happening right now. I think sometimes, especially at work, we can become so overwhelmed with everything that's going on, everything we have to do, what's next. And taking that time to step back really does make a big difference, as well as exercise plays a huge role.
But don't you think it's different strokes for different folks? For me, if I stop in the middle of something, then it takes me time to get back on the train. So I would rather spend 4 hours intensively, get it done, and then take a break for 2 hours, then take a minute to stretch my legs, and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great. I think recognizing that it doesn't work for you is great, but finding ways or different things that will work. So, exercise, we know, helps reduce stress, helps reduce anxiety. So, if we're having a meeting, maybe we have a standing meeting. Everyone stands up. Or if you have to send an email.
It's like the 7th inning stretch.
Exactly. Or you have to send an email and you're in that 4-hour focus time, then instead of sending the email, you walk over to your colleague's desk, or you actually get up and move. Mm-hmm. So, maybe incorporating a little bit more exercise, sitting on an exercise ball. I think these little shifts can really help have a big impact on our overall stress levels.
Now, I know a lot of people probably work at home. Which is something I do. And I babysat my sister's dog, and I was forced to get up every 4 hours and go for an hour. Now, I found that hugely crippling in terms of, I was working later at night, but it was very healthy for me because other days I found that I would sit at the computer for literally 9 or 10 hours, which is so unhealthy. So even if we
I've
don't
just banned her from doing that. It's like 5 hours and you're done.
even if we don't get the dog, maybe we schedule an errand if you work at home where I have to walk to the drugstore. I have to go do this at this time every 3 hours. So you still get something done, but you're not sitting.
And that's a great idea. And I think it's so important. We've heard so often sitting is the new smoking, and it's becoming a huge, huge problem, especially for us. For those, I work at home as well sometimes, and it's forcing, setting those reminders, getting up, and it's so important, so important.
So what is the government, what are employers doing about this level of workplace stress that seems to be such a reality?
I think it comes down to our individual management of the stress. And there's lots of different ways. We've talked about mindfulness, we've talked about exercise, but also supplementation plays a really, really key role. When it comes to B vitamins, we know that B vitamins are really, really important for our energy production as well as helping to reduce stress. But the problem is the more stressed we become, the more these important vitamins can become depleted. Magnesium as well. Magnesium, known as the original chill pill, is something that our body really needs. So looking at ways we can balance out through supplementation or through foods. Avocados and bananas, very high in magnesium and B vitamins. Making sure we're having a well-rounded diet to keep those energy levels up throughout the day is also really going to help us to manage that stress. The food that we put in our bodies are so important. Garbage in, garbage out.
We hear a lot about multivitamins, and maybe they're not, as useful as we think they are. If there was give me one supplement that you wouldn't do, you wouldn't go a day without.
I think that omega-3s...
I was going to say, like a fish oil, a good fish oil is on omega-3.
Really important, especially when it comes to stress. Because research shows that omega-3s help with learning, with memory, as well as with our mood. And the reality is a lot of us simply are not getting enough omega-3s in our diet alone. Eating the fish, fatty fish, 2 to 3 times a week is just not simply happening. So incorporating more fatty fish, eating more plant-based omega-3s, hemps, chia, flax, all really, really important as well, again, as we help to manage that stress. And if you visit our website, the Canadian Health Food Association, CHFA.ca, we have all kinds of great recipes and more information on how we can incorporate these kinds of foods and supplements into our diets.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And I'm so glad that we didn't have to do anything on meditation, which I'm allergic to. When we come back, a chat with some of the 12-member Seven Soul Band and listen to their unique and vibrant sound. This is What She Said on The Jewel. Stay with us.